We would see dead bodies in public. We would see kids seeing dead bodies in public. We would see limbs splattered on the floor. And seeing it with your own eyes really made you wake up and change.
An American-born ISIS bride now pleading to come back to the United States. The 24-year-old fled her family in Alabama back in 2014, and she headed to Syria, where she married 3 Islamic State fighters over the years and had a son. Hoda Muthana and her lawyers say that she's a United States citizen who wants to face the consequences now of her actions. But the president and the Secretary of State are saying absolutely not.
This is a woman who inflicted enormous risk on American soldiers, on American citizens. She's a terrorist. She's not coming back. President Trump made clear that she wasn't coming back. She's not a U.S. citizen. She is not entitled to U.S. citizenship, and she's not coming back to our country to pose a threat.
Hassan Shibli is an attorney for Hoda Muthana's family. Hassan, thank you very much for being with us tonight. I want to start by looking back at this tweet of hers in 2015, and she went under the Twitter name Mother Jihad. She said, Americans, wake up, men and women all together. You have much to do while you live under our greatest enemy. Enough of your sleeping. Go on drive-bys and spill all of their blood, or rent a big truck and drive all over them. Veterans, Patriots, Memorial, etc. Day parades, kill them. How does she defend that?
She doesn't. That is absolutely disgusting and sickening, and shows how poisonous the hatred spewed by groups like ISIS are. And we're all grateful that they're almost eradicated, thank God. The fact of the matter is that Hoda deeply regrets the kind of person she turned into. And she's not asking for a free pass. She wants to come back and face our legal system. Now, it is a fact we're not totally sure which tweets actually originated from her while she was over there. But she's not justifying anything right now. She wants to come back, face the legal system. We have a great legal system that we believe in, that we should all believe in. And I believe it can hold her accountable. And that's all she's asking for.
Here's her response when she was asked about that tweet. Let's play that.
I was still at the peak of being brainwashed, I guess, and I had people all around me that were just widowed, so we were very angry. Not because, I think because we were all just young girls married for the first time. Most of us, it was our first relationship, and then he just suddenly dies. And it has a big effect on you. It makes you go crazy, it makes you traumatized.
Yeah. Do you think that she believes that she should be treated any differently because she's a woman, rather than if she were an American man who had done this?
Well, I think she wishes she was treated as good as an American man. I mean, we all have the example of John Walker Lynn, who picked up arms and fought with the Taliban against American soldiers, and ultimately he was brought back as an American citizen, tried in American courts.
But he was an American citizen. And her status, she's the child of a diplomat. And you just heard Secretary of State Pompeo say that the State Department does not consider her to be an American citizen. She was born to a diplomat who gave up his diplomatic duty a month before she was born.
Actually, he had given up his diplomatic duties in June 1st, which was many months before she was born, but by the time it became official, it was September 1st, and still, by the time she was born, at the end of October, her father was not a diplomat. She had citizenship by way of her birth. The United States Constitution guarantees citizenship to everyone born on U.S. soil who was not immune from U.S. laws. Her father was not immune from U.S. laws at the time she was born, and this is what's made this a bigger issue. This is much bigger than Hoda. It's about the power of the president to simply declare, without court process, without due process, that somebody's not a citizen. That's very scary. We have courts for a reason. Let's use the court system.
Thank you very much. Good to have you here tonight. Hassan Shibli.
Does China even admit to the cyber intrusions, for example? I mean, our computer networks, we've got thousands of attacks. Is it true, thousands of attacks a day?
Yes, there are attacks not only from China, certainly, but from Iran, from North Korea, from many countries around the world. Russians are engaged in activity too, trying to get at systems, not only governmental systems, but private business systems. I ran a small business for a dozen plus years before I came to Congress a few years back. These are real threats, and we need to be capable of protecting our information and our data.
So does China admit to the cyber intrusions? Do they admit to the theft of intellectual property? We had the former president of Microsoft on this program a couple months ago, Steve Ballmer, and he said that 90% of the companies in China use the Microsoft operating system, 1% pay for it. It costs Microsoft $10 billion a year in profit.
Yep, this enormous transfer this unlawful transfer of American wealth, American innovation and creativity that's taken place over the last decades is enormous. It's historic. The Trump administration is determined to push back against it. We opened by talking about these trade agreements that are being worked on in Washington even as we speak. They will attempt to address this. The Chinese need to acknowledge that this is taking place, need to put structural changes in place to prevent it from taking place, and then there needs to be an enforcement mechanism so that the whole world can know that these things aren't continuing to happen.
How do we get to a point where we can trust that they will keep the promise? I mean, let's say you do get an MOU and we get these agreements that, yeah, we're going to move the needle on IP theft. Haven't they made promises to us in the past that they haven't kept?
Well, they certainly have. That's absolutely the case. And our administration knows this. We won't fall into those same pitfalls. They've made commitments on cyber, on other things, which they've just simply not honored. That's why the enforcement mechanism, and if you talk to Ambassador Lighthizer or Secretary Mnuchin for even 2 minutes, they will tell you the heart of these discussions will surround enforcement mechanisms. And I hope that the Chinese will be prepared to permit those to take place. If they do, perhaps we can find a good, solid trade way to move forward.
I mean, the Chinese are going to have to, if they expect the world to use their telecom equipment, they're going to have to prove to the world that we can trust them, right?
That's right. Look, you can fool countries, you can fool people for only so long. At the end of the day, and you start to see this in Malaysia and Maldives, where countries are waking up to what happened to them, what Chinese predatory lending did to their country and their people. They find themselves with enormous debt, which they'll be trying to unpack for an awfully long time. Countries around the world in Asia and Africa and South and Central America are starting to see these risks. And if we do our job well, transparency and free markets will prevail. The information will be available, and countries, American companies, European countries will compete effectively all around the world.
If European countries continue to use Huawei and you know that there are openings for the Chinese to tap in, are you going to share less information with European friends?
You know, I don't want to comment on any particular situation, but it goes as a matter of common sense, Maria. We're not going to put American information at risk.
Let me go back to your trip from Poland for a moment, because you had a major meeting on the Iran threat. I was pretty stunned. 62 countries showing up. Netanyahu, Israel there with all of these Arab countries. Was there unanimous consent in terms of Iran, in terms of how to deal with Iran from all of the above?
Boy, when the Arab countries were asked point blank, what's the biggest threat to their people, to the people of Saudi Arabia, to the people of the Emirates, to the people of Bahrain? I could go on. It was very clear. It's the Islamic Republic of Iran. It was a historic gathering. Arab states, the Israeli Prime Minister, all together talking about how to keep their people safe, the region more stable. And of course, America has a deep interest in Middle East stability. It presents risk to us and to our ally Israel every day. And I'm very hopeful that we can now continue to build on this and push back against the Islamic Republic of Iran, which for now 40 years has posed enormous threat to the region. And
you made a comment yesterday about the ISIS bride, Hoda Muthana, not a U.S. citizen, will not be allowed back into America. This was really important, and it hit on the heartstrings of Americans after she left to go fight ISIS, wanted to kill Americans, and now says she's sorry.
Yeah, I don't get the heartstrings deal. This is a woman who inflicted enormous risk on American soldiers, on American citizens. She's a terrorist. She's not coming back. President Trump made clear that she wasn't coming back. She's not a U.S. citizen. She is not entitled to U.S. citizenship, and she's not coming back to our country to pose a threat. Has
the strategy changed in terms of pulling the troops out of Syria and Afghanistan even?
No, the tactical decision the president made in Syria to take the 2,000 uniformed military personnel out of Syria remains. We're now literally on the doorstep. We could be hours away from taking away the last square inch of ISIS-controlled territory in Syria. Now liberated millions of people in Iraq and Syria. President Trump knows the threat from ISIS remains. It's a global threat. We're going to stay at it, but our tactics in Syria have changed.
Let me go back to Asia as we conclude, because you've got the North Korea summit next week. The president will meet with President Xi, pardon me. And some of the comments that the president has made this week I was taken aback. He said, look, a few things recently. I'm in no rush here. The summit will be like the last one. We'll make some progress. Is he ratcheting down expectations?
No, I don't think he's ratcheting down expectations at all. You have to remember where we came into this. We came in when missiles were being tested, nuclear weapons were being tested. We haven't had tests of either of those types of systems for well over a year now. We've had the return of remains of Americans. I have a team on the ground in Hanoi now. I had one in Pyongyang a couple of weeks back. Real progress being made, and now the two leaders, goodness, a week or so from now, 27th and 28th, will be together on the ground in Hanoi, and I hope we can make real progress, that Chairman Kim will begin to fulfill the commitment he made in June in Singapore of last year to denuclearize his own country.
I mean, what would be progress? I mean, you don't expect that he's going to denuclearize right away, right? Because aside from, we know that there haven't been any missiles, we know that the president has moved the ball forward, you have moved the ball forward, but no denuclearization announcement.
You know, Maria, I remember I was a young soldier patrolling the East German border in 1989. No one anticipated that the wall would come down on the day that it came down. I'm hopeful that the world gets a day like that here as well, where no one expects that North Korea will take this action. I think the work that we've done, the economic sanctions that have been in place, the negotiations that President Trump has led, I hope one day we all wake up and we get a moment just like the one that the world had in 1989. And
final question on China. How does that fit into all of this with the talks on China?
Well, I hope the Chinese will continue to play a constructive role. They've been helpful, and we appreciate that a great deal. The whole world has come together to put pressure on North Korea. We hope the Chinese will continue to do that and be a very constructive force for what would be a great thing for the people of America and the people of the world.
Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us.
Maria, thank you so much, ma'am.
Secretary Mike Pompeo.